Rutherford Issues with Bryan Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Rutherford Issues is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Now, through Sharing Change, MTE members round up their bills to support local nonprofits. Learn more at sharingchange.org. Well, want to say good morning to our friends from the Sons of the American Revolution, Stones River chapter. And you maybe heard about DAR. Well, this is SAR, right? Mark Young, Jim Sandman joining us here in studio this morning, and a lot to talk about, and a treat for those who are watching on our Big G TV channels because, I mean, Jim, what is that around your neck?
Oh, that's Mark.
Oh, Mark. Yeah, Mark, what is that around your neck there?
I'm wearing what you would normally see a privateer or pirate wear. These are belaying pins, and I'm part Native American, and historically you would see Native Americans with bones across their chest.
Yeah.
Well, that's not just ceremonial. It can actually protect your vital organs from a slash or something.
Sure could. That is very interesting. I thought it was maybe a musical instrument or something. And maybe this is just because it pops into my mind as a memory of my grandparents, but they had the salt and pepper shakers that were wooden that were in the center, back in the 70s or whatnot. That's what that kind of looks like.
There's
you know
also
what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's also a smaller version that is really a powder flask that you would put a charge in.
Yeah.
That looks very similar to these, but
nice.
When you're on a ship, unlike Hollywood, where you have your one shot, they're firing 4 or 5 shots in hand to hand. You lose your weapons, then you reach for the rails for these and use them as head knockers.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I know not to mess with you. Jim, kind of talk a little bit about your outfit, if you will, and we'll talk more
yes.
with Jim too. But
Sure. Mine's after the normal Kentucky militia. My fifth great grandfather was Kentucky militia, and Colonel Benjamin Logan.
Mm-hmm.
So I had found a picture online of a typical militia person. I sent it in to a clothier that makes these outfits, and I think they did a pretty good job.
They did. I had to move the camera up just a little because your hat's really tall.
Oh.
That must have been the thing back in the day, is tall hats, huh?
Well, they're for collecting water when it rains. It becomes a source. They used them for extra source of water.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did not yours too?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The tricorn hat. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did not know that. So we're learning all kinds of things. Which one of you, or either one of you, I guess, or both of you, can talk about what the SAR does and the Stones River chapter and that kind of thing? And I know we're going to get really specific about something that happened here in our community as well recently, but maybe about the chapter, how active, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yes. Our chapter's been around since, I believe, 1976, and it was recently rejuvenated a few years ago. Our current president is Robert Bolliard. Mark Young here, my colleague with me, is our first vice president, and I'm the second vice president and registrar for our chapter. The Sons of the American Revolution are all about preserving and educating and maintaining the heritage of our founding fathers, communicating that to the young people, to the next generation, which, by the way, reminds me, I wanted to thank State Rep Mike Sparks recently for bringing a state proclamation for one of our chapter members, Jack McElwain, who was prolific in helping spread our heritage and the message of the Sons of the American Revolution to local Boy Scouts troops here in Rutherford County recently. And he's done an outstanding job. He was recognized by not only the SAR with the Robert E. Burt Boy Scout Volunteer Award Medal, but he was also awarded from the Boy Scouts with the Robert E. Pertula Award from the Trail of Tears District Middle Tennessee Council. And so I wanted to thank Representative Sparks for that. But that's our main mission. here locally, we are in charge of managing with the Tennessee SAR the Lytle Cemetery, right here, right next to Haynes Lumber Company off of Broad Street.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk more about that here in a minute, I think so.
Do you have to, I mean, who can participate in this, Mark? Kind of tell me a little bit about, or either one of you, but I mean, how can you be a member, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
We, by definition, are a hereditary society. You have to be a descendant of a patriot who fought in the Revolutionary War, or someone who provided services to the cause, and it's well documented. It goes through Jim and I. I'm a genealogist, and Jim is a registrar, and we basically would approve applications and also help people identify their patriots, and do all the legwork that we can to get the documentation in place to become a member.
Is that like in some database somewhere, or I mean, do people follow their own lineage back and find those things out? I mean, how does that?
It can work multiple ways. The SAR has a website, sar.org, and you can actually search patriots there. Part of my mission, I'm in 50 hereditary societies, and I'm actually the President General of the House of Wessex, which is another one. That's all the kings of England. But primarily you can go in there and see if your patriot is in there. Otherwise, folks like Jim and I can just start bird dogging your family tree and go up the path, and you'll usually find you've got 6 to 8 patriots possibly in your tree that you may not even be aware of. And we can usually find good documentation. A lot of times it's going to be their land grants or their pay vouchers that will even tell what unit they were with, where they served, and then you can actually go from there to find out what battles they may have been in.
Mm-hmm. So it's highly likely that if you were born here, have, you know, close relatives that were born in the United States, highly likely that you have someone in your line, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And way out in left field, something very unusual is that we also have French people in France, because of course they were over here serving with us. So we have the French Sons of American Revolution that are part of us.
Nice. Well, I mean, you think about that, and maybe they came here to fight and then went back to France, and then maybe you migrated, or your ancestors migrated to America, and then here we are. So very, very interesting. So just so we have an opportunity to talk about this, Jim, what does someone need to do to get this process started if they would like to become part of the Sons of the American Revolution?
They can reach out to us by going to sar.org and inquiring about that membership there. I get notified when that occurs, and then I help them with an application. They can begin, if they want to, they can start entering information they already know online at the SAR website. And once they do that, I can see it and view it and begin to help them to complete it. So we look for records of census and Bible records or historical records that we can find that will help prove their lineage. So the easiest thing to do is just to reach out to sar.org and inquire there about becoming a member.
Okay. That's easily done. Do you have to have your own get up here to become part of that?
No, this is optional to be a part of the color guard, to purchase an outfit for the colonial period. It is optional, but it is, I think, much more exciting to be a part of the color guard in this way, because we're like the public face of our chapter. All around the country, folks are in ceremonies, and as you know, the 250th anniversary is coming up for our country next July 4th. And the celebrations and commemorations have already begun all around the country for the 249th anniversary for various things, like Lexington and Concord was recently celebrated again, and things like that. So,
well, and the 250th for the Army recently, and you know, seeing some of you know, in the military parade that were, you know, in their era, you know, uniforms, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So, color guard. Do you go out to various events and participate in those?
Yes, we've been at several here locally as well. Color guard duties, we've been called upon for various places, like the A Soldier's Child Foundation had their annual fundraising dinner several months ago, and we were asked to be the color guard for that. Of course, we do it for DAR ceremonies that are here locally as well. We work closely with the William Lytle chapter and the Hardy Murphy chapter of the DAR.
Christmas parade.
And the Christmas parade, we're an entry as well here in Murfreesboro. And so we were in the color guard for the Tennessee State Fair just last Thursday, a week ago today.
Okay.
For their opening parade at the Tennessee State Fair. That was a great experience.
Wreaths across America, Flag Day, Memorial Day, most of your major holidays, July 4th.
Yes.
Part of our contingency down in Georgia presented colors at the Atlanta Braves baseball game and actually fired their muskets there within the stadium.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, it was really neat.
Yeah. Well, not you, but there has been some news recently, and you've mentioned William Lytle a bit this morning already. So, and I think, Jim, you were the one who mentioned the upkeep of the cemetery that's near Haynes Lumber Company.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of walk us through what you found, who found what, and either of you kind of comment on what happened there.
I'll start, then I'll let Mark take on some comments as well here. But just on August 8th, we discovered, after being told by the mowing crew that there had been some more damage to the cemetery, we were finally able to go out and observe, and Captain William Lytle's box grave was the worst of the 9 graves that were affected. They were either damaged or knocked over, broken into pieces, and they've been around for a while. So Captain William Lytle, as you may know, was one of our founding fathers of Murfreesboro. The land that Murfreesboro sits on was from a donated portion of his land grant that he earned from serving in the Revolutionary War. Him, along with his friend Colonel Hardy Murphy. So we're very concerned about getting that back up, and I'll ask Mark if he would talk about our 3-phase plan to get that back up and going.
Yeah, first and foremost, we're focused on, obviously, the reconstruction. I want to make sure that as we put his grave back together, that it's done professionally and done for longevity. We don't want to use cardboard, obviously. We want to use materials that are going to last and withstand the weather and the test of time. Unfortunately, in Tennessee, the majority of your grave markers are Tennessee limestone, and historically they don't last as long as you'd like.
You would think they would, but they really don't.
But they really don't over time. And so we're definitely looking at using granite for the box part. The first phase is going to be leveling out all the ones that were knocked over, rebonding the ones that are broken. We're trying to obtain the granite panels to put his box grave back together. And ultimately, all of these are going to be cleaned, leveled, and refurbished as well as possible to keep them historically accurate. Again, trying to remain historically accurate for somebody as important as Lytle. There's a trade-off there, because if we go back with limestone, then we're just kicking the can down the road. So we're better off to have it look aesthetically, historically close, but something that's going to give it the preservation that it needs to have. That's the first phase, is to restore. Then the second phase is long-term preservation, make sure we've got security in place to try to minimize this from happening again. We've also got some landscaping issues, a dead tree we need to have taken out, and some other things. And eventually, I've also found we've currently got about 19 graves that I know of in there that are identified, and I have found 4 more that were unmarked that, and I'm only about 10% actually looking to try to find who else may have been buried there. This is a family cemetery, and traditionally on a farm or a family, you don't necessarily mark everybody's grave that's been buried there. A lot of times it's just a field stone, and over time that disappears. So,
let me ask this question. I'm looking at the news story that we had on our website and seeing where in some of the photos, and you've mentioned weathering and things of that nature, but this was clearly a vandalism, don't you think?
definitely.
Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, this wasn't that, they had gotten in such poor condition that they fell apart or something like that.
Exactly, right. We'd seen them just several weeks ago, just in much better shape than they are today.
Yeah. Any chance of finding out who might have done this? I mean, is there any way to know?
The police we've submitted a police report. They're investigating the situation. We don't have any leads on that at this point. It's a senseless vandalism, so we're not sure we'll find out who did
Right.
that. But we have started a GoFundMe page to help raise funds for this restoration and preservation and maintenance of Lytle Cemetery. And I'd like to invite folks to go to GoFundMe.com and type in the search Lytle Cemetery, and you'll find our GoFundMe page about Lytle Cemetery. And thus far, within a week or so, we've already raised about $4,000. And we do have a goal of about $50,000 to carry on the maintenance and preservation that's going to be needed for this.
I'm sure it's disheartening to know that this happened, but Mark, as you were saying, it does give you an opportunity. I know it would be nice to not have to do some of the things that you're going to have to do, but a sense of security. I mean, you kind of feel like now something's got to be done so this doesn't happen over and over again.
Right.
What could someone who's hearing this now, that maybe they're not part of the SAR, but they want to support history? Maybe someone listening from our Rutherford County Historical Society is listening right now, and they want to help. What would be the best way for them to do that?
One of the oddities is that we've got what I call movable parts. There's some pieces that we're not quite sure historically where they originated within the cemetery. I've asked the DAR especially to do their homework, and historical societies to take a look at old historical photographs to see if we can identify where they were originally located. There's 4 pedestals, and there's 2 fragmented headstones, footstones that we're not sure where they belong. But there's also, another phase down the road is I've got 3 graves that are unmarked totally, that I know who's buried there, that we're eventually going to have to put headstones on. So there's all kinds of opportunities in terms of donations and obviously physical support. Come out when we have a cleanup day or something and just give us a hand.
Jim, these look like they were kind of above ground or whatnot. Were there actual remains disturbed?
No, the actual remains are still underground.
Okay.
The box was just a form of a grave on top of the actual remains.
Okay. So, and that was typical of that period?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because it kind of is reminiscent of what you might see down in Louisiana. Of course, they can't bury underground. So,
that's true.
Was just curious about that. So
there's other parts of the state you'll find. I'll call them tent graves. They're basically 2 slabs that form a triangle over the grave, and those that are primarily going to be found in areas that were farmland, and it was basically to keep the livestock off the grave. And so that's kind of a spin-off of why you go to the box graves. This, of course, would have been more residential, not as much of a concern of livestock, trampling the grave. But
I bet there are a lot of people that are hearing this or watching this right now that didn't even know that was there. So this is this a site that's accessible to the public to visit?
Yes. The address of the cemetery is the same as Haynes Lumber Company, 739 Northwest Broad Street in Murfreesboro, and it's located between 2 buildings owned by Haynes Lumber. So it's a small cemetery, but there's a large enough parking lot right there, very close to the intersection of Old Fort Parkway.
Yeah, so I'm sure with that bridge over Broad construction, there was it close enough you had to kind of keep an eye on that progress, or they had to make some adjustments?
No, they were.
It was too far away,
a
wasn't
little
it?
bit far away for that.
Yeah.
But you can see it from that bridge when you cross over Broad Street. You
Yeah.
can see it if you look over there.
Very interesting.
Jim mentioned the GoFundMe page. We're also welcoming, obviously, corporate sponsors, corporate sponsorship, because you mentioned MTE. MTE was actually went in with us on our original granite markers that are at the front of the cemetery. We've got some beautiful granite markers that list his history and what he had accomplished and what he was all about, and MTE was one of the big sponsors for that.
Well, our guest today, unfortunately, we're out of time, but Jim Sandman, also Mark Young with SAR. We'll put all the information up on our website, so be sure to check it out there.